If I was to give you a choice to drink this or to drink this, which one will you choose? Well, for many years, I chose this, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us would have chose that because the stats show that Coke is one of the leading drinks purchased in America. But this may be the reason why you haven't noticed there's a gatekeeper to success. And in this video, I'm going to tell you about this gatekeeper that's undermining our success daily. But before we get down to that rabbit hole, hit the like and subscribe button and let's get to it. When I was struggling with my stronghold, my addiction to sugar, there was a situation where I didn't really know I loved sweets like that. After one homecoming, I woke up with some pain, and I thought I had done something to my back. I don't know. But later, I saw that the pain wasn't going away. I saw that I could sit down for about 5, maybe 7 minutes, and then I just have a strong tingling down the left side of my leg. And I didn't know what was going on. And I started doing research. You know, when something's going wrong, right? You tend to Google it or YouTube it. I did the same thing, and I kind of figured out it was sciatica nerve. And if you ever had sciatica nerve, it's the longest nerve in your body, one of the biggest nerves in your body. And what you don't want is something pinching that nerve, because no matter how much medicine you take, no matter how much stretching you are doing, you're going to have pain. So I went to my cousin who's a chiropractor, and she took an x-ray, and I saw that my hips were like this. And I literally figured out that my eating habits were causing my issue. And I don't know if you've been in a situation before where your daily choices, your daily habits, your decision, your discipline, it is producing something that you didn't understand was going to produce. At that time, before that homecoming, I was still coming out of some dark days after my sibling had passed. And one thing I started to notice is that whenever pain hits you, and whenever you have a situation where you're stressed, we all have things that we go to when we're stressed. And one of them for me was Coke, juice, candy, any type of sweets. I had a routine that before I go to the property, I would stop at a gas station and I would get a Coca-Cola, honey bun, cinnamon roll, and I'll get some gummy bears consistently. And it was daily. And then with my wife, before we had our first child, I was in love with Amazon. The big trolley gummy bears, I couldn't find it how I wanted to in the gas station, so I started ordering 12 to a pack. I started ordering 12 to a box from Amazon. And you know how you tell yourself, like, hey, I'm only gonna eat one? No, I'll probably finish the box within 2-3 days. While still on top of drinking soda. I figured out there were secret menus in fast food places. McDonald's had a tote box, and it was 13 cookies for $5. You can see how much I was doing this. I also Whataburger, you could get, instead of one cinnamon roll, you can get 6 cinnamon rolls to a pan. And I would still keep telling myself that I'm only just going to eat a little bit, one. But willpower is very difficult in the midst of pleasure. And I don't know if you've been in a situation, if you've been in a place where you know you should do better, but because you keep putting yourself around that fire, you continually burn yourself. Let me read this scripture to enlighten what the gatekeeper to your success is. And I had to figure out this the hard way. All right, so Hebrews chapter 12, verse 11, the Amplified version says that, for the time being, no discipline brings joy, but seems sad and painful. Yet to those who have been trained by it, afterwards it yields a peaceful fruit of righteousness. All right? And a lifestyle and an attitude that seeks conformity to God's will and purpose. So here, let me read the first part again. For the time being, no discipline brings joy. I don't know anybody who just likes drinking water. If you taste Coke, Coke is delicious. All right. Me running track, I could get away with unhealthy eating because I was ripped. I looked skinny back in college. But as I started getting older, and when I hit some rough patches, I started getting older, those unhealthy habits were catching up to me. The gatekeeper's always been discipline. And anybody who's struggled with New Year's resolution, who struggled with doing what they know they should be doing, it's always been discipline. And it's so funny in that verse, it talks about that. Let me make sure I read it because this is one thing that I've been meditating on. It says, for the time being, no discipline brings joy. There's no joy in discipline in the beginning. That's why it's so easy to give up. Discipline is long-term consistency without seeing immediate results. After I had that issue with my sciatica, it took me about 6 to 8 months just to lose those 30 pounds to get my hips from looking like this to this. I didn't have to go back to no doctor. I didn't have to do anything. All I had to do was work out and stop eating the multitude of sweets I was doing daily. And it was a struggle at first. The same workouts I do back then that I do now, the workouts would take me 45 minutes outside just stretching and warming up. But back then when I started losing weight, it'll take me 2.5 hours. And this is not from somebody who wasn't used to working out. This was somebody, I could go work out, do what I need to do and move on. But losing weight is always difficult than gaining weight. I'm gonna tell you that right now. And whenever I get out the treadmill and start lifting weights, I was just huffing and puffing. I just be thinking like, what I put myself through. But over time, building that discipline, I started to see the weight come off. It didn't happen immediately. Over time, instead of me taking me 2.5 hours, it took me maybe 1 hour and 45 minutes. So now I'm at a routine where I can do the same workout when I was overweight. That took me 2.5 hours. I can do it within 45, 40, 30 minutes, depending on how many sets and how many reps. But now, the pain of working out really doesn't go away because when you start stretching and moving, it's not as hurtful, it's not as painful, but I'm moving and stretching. I understand now that is part of the process. Many times we are looking for success, but unwilling to do the discipline to unlock the doors of our destiny. Let me read the second part of this verse. It says, but seems sad and painful. It seems sad and painful. Whenever you are trying to unlock your success, whenever you are looking to push forward, it's going to seem sad and painful. And a lot of times you can be the person you can look at somebody like, hey, why don't you just do something that's easier? Discipline is uncomfortable. You see it all the time. You can go look at any Instagram, any TikTok, somebody talking about success that said, be uncomfortable. It may seem sad and painful at the time. Discipline is something that is an action, it's consistent work. So while you are looking to do discipline, the recommendation is take your time and understand that you're going to be uncomfortable. But the uncomfortability, and I'm going to get into the third part of this verse, it says that, yet those who have been trained by it afterwards yield the peaceful fruit. I want you to kind of focus on trained and yield. And remember, this is Hebrews chapter 12, verse 11, the Amplified version. Trained, another word for trained just means practice, the daily routine of doing something. And then the second part was yield. Yield means to produce. So doing the daily discipline activities yields to fruitfulness, yields to success, it's going to produce that. There's no way you can get around that. It's no way. If you discipline in doing the right things over and over again while nobody's clapping for you in the dark, you will yield. It's just like the farmer. The farmer gets his hands dirty in that ground and is moving that ground, tilling it, making sure that the seed is taken care of over and over and over again. And the farmer knows that if he does this consistently, whether he feels like it or not, it's going to yield a harvest. When it comes down to drinking a soda or drinking a water, it really just comes down to that gatekeeper, that linchpin, discipline. It's the power of choice, choosing daily to habitually do the same thing that's going to produce something better for you in the long run. Discipline is not for short-term gain. It's not for the faint of heart. It's for somebody who understands that what I want is on the other side of discipline. So while you're thinking about the Coke and while you're maybe thinking about the water, understand that the water is a choice. And where your choices lie is where your power lies. But until next time, talk to you soon.